at 9 a.m. In accordance with the live streaming law, this meeting is being conducted via video conference and live streamed on the MDTA Capital Committee. As a reminder, all Capital Committee active. The entirety of the meeting. Minimize background noise during this meeting. I do ask that everyone their computers mute. But while you're presenting, please, and answering a question or presenting, please go off the mute so we can hear you. Done, please. My understanding that there are no members of the public, elected officials, registered. We can now agenda item number 1. Meeting minutes of 6, 2022. Hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
You're coming in and out a little bit.
Very dimly.
I called. Do I need to go through everything again? Maybe did I miss everything?
No, we heard it before.
Okay, all right. Well, then I'm asking for approval of the October 6, 2022 open session meeting minutes.
So moved.
Member Cox.
So moved by Member Gaines, and I believe Member Cox seconded.
Second it then.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Been eaten and no, all of us, so no. We can now move on to Robert, who's going to talk about HT 2709, the envelope and switchgear replacement at the Baltimore Harbor Tunnel vent building. Robert, you are on.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Capital Committee members. My name is Robert Michael. I'm the Campus Facilities Engineering Manager in the Office of Engineering and Construction. This morning, I will be presenting contract HT 2709-0000, which is the envelope and switchgear replacements at the Baltimore Harbor Tunnel vent buildings. The work to be performed under this contract is located at the BHT facility, the Fairfield and Canton vent buildings. The scope of work includes the complete removal of the existing building facades, intake roofs with the installation of new architectural precast concrete wall panels, storm-proof louvers, and new roofing systems implemented using phased construction practices at each building. Also, complete removal and replacement of the existing end-of-service life primary switchgear lineups that support all the tunnel operations, including ventilation, life safety, lane use, traffic signing, lighting, and pumping system. These primary units will be removed and new installed, applying detailed phased construction to maintain all safe tunnel operations during the phases of construction and the entire duration. In addition, to accommodate some of the new expanded electrical equipment at the Canton Vent Building, a single-story addition has been designed and will be constructed to accommodate some of the new switchgear components and other electrical components. The existing deficient elevators will be removed and replaced with new modern code-compliant systems, and there will be construction of an additional safety egress stairway to meet current fire code and regulations. New code-compliant fire pumps will also be installed to complete the fire safety systems that have previously been upgraded under other contracts. At the end, all of these new systems will be totally integrated into the existing SCADA system controls and tested for full operation. I'd also like to provide some background about the buildings for your consideration as well of this contract. The existing buildings are over 65 years old. Over the course of time, some superficial facade and roofing repairs have been performed over the years due to degradation of the existing mortar, block, brick, and other structural components. Water infiltration from major storm events has caused some of these structural deficiencies and also at times threatened the electrical components within the building. The major building components of the facade provide a safety barrier for the fans and electrical equipment from water intrusion and the large louver openings for fan intake supplied to each tunnel to provide for ventilation. The primary switchgear are the original. Major internal parts have been repaired or replaced over time to maintain safe operations. However, these were temporary fixes as the units are at the end of their useful service life, and it's now difficult to obtain these parts as they fail. The result is a need for the total switchgear upgrade and replacement component. These major building components are necessary for the safe and efficient fan operation to circulate fresh air into the tunnels and to provide life safety for vehicle exhaust and major fire events for smoke extraction. The fans and motor assemblies were recently replaced under contract HT 2649, and that project was completed about a year ago. So reconstruction of the facades, roofs, and switchgear in conjunction with the fan replacements will modernize the buildings and ensure safe tunnel operations for an extended period of time. This contract was advertised on November 5th of 2021 with the bid opening on April 21st, 2022. The anticipated construction notice to proceed is December of 2022. Upon approvals, with a construction duration of 1,460 calendar days in the contract. The overall MBE goal for this contract was established at 20% with no sub-goals. The VSBE goal was set at 1%. The goal submitted by the lowest responsive bidder exceeds these requirements of 20.47% for the total MBE and 1% for the VSBE. The low bid plan includes sub-goals of 2.87 for African American, 2.73% Asian American, 1.47% for Hispanic American, and 13.4% for women-owned businesses. The MBE plan is under final review by the MDTA Office of Civil Rights and Fair Practices. The engineer's estimate for this contract was $54,550,357.12. Included in this number were contingencies in the amount of $5,208,000. These allowances are for partnering, SCADA system integrations, miscellaneous construction, specialized radio equipment relocations, fan shutdown, startup, and recommissioning, existing switchgear maintenance prior to replacement, and flood protection if necessary. 4 total bids were received and open. The parent low bid submitted by Chimbro in the amount of $66,524,800 was subsequently rejected as non-responsive. Therefore, the second low bid submitted by William M. Schlosser in the amount of $67,800,000 was confirmed as the responsive low bid. This bid is $13.2 million or 24% higher than the engineer's estimate. Therefore, a bid justification was performed by the project management team. The bid justification memo can be found in the meeting information attachments. This contract is 100% funded with toll revenue funds. There was a bid protest filed by Chinbro and subsequently denied upon the merits stated in the procurement officer's protest decision response letter dated September 30th, 2022. During the advertisement period, we received over 200 questions from general contractors, trade subcontractors, suppliers, fabricators, and manufacturers, and we provide responses to each of these. This resulted in multiple contract addendums issued and the bid opening date extended to allow the bidders the opportunity to review and incorporate all the clarifications into their bid prices. Therefore, the advertisement period was approximately 6 months for this contract. The subsequent bid protest timeframe further extended the procurement process until late September of 2022. William M. Schlosser has completed prior MDTA facilities contracts, in particular Harbor Tunnel 3011, which was administration building exterior renovations, and they are currently working on the Nice Middleton Bridge campus building reconstructions. In addition, they have successfully performed work for all state and local agencies in Maryland. We are seeking a contingent approval from the Capital Committee to present this contract to the full board at the next scheduled meeting for award to W.M. Schlosser Company. Engineering and procurement team members will be glad to address any questions regarding the contract and procurement processes that the chairman and committee members may have. Thank you for your time today and your consideration of our request.
Chairman.
Go for it. I knew there would
Chairman.
be questions. Go ahead,
Chairman.
Scott.
Yeah, I have a question.
Thanks for your presentation. It's just, obviously, we've been seeing bids come in higher, and obviously, cost of goods have risen. We know that. And how long before the bid was actually received, did you put the bids out? Maybe I didn't get that date. When was the bid actually put out?
November 5th of 2021. So last November,
Okay.
sir.
Okay, all right. I'm just trying to look. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Member Gaines.
I had a question, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
I'd like to hear more about the why we rejected Chambro's bid. It seems like they've done a lot of work for us, so they should know how to follow the MBE goals, not requirements, right? They're goals.
Yes, sir.
What did they do wrong?
Members, Chairman, Bob, if you'd like me to take this, for the record, my name is Jeff Davis, Deputy Director of Procurement, and I would be happy to answer your question. But I wanted to
Thank you, Jeff.
Robert wanted to take it. Okay.
Thank you, Jeff.
So unfortunately, we do have a very good relationship with Chinbro. They've done several projects with us that I believe have been successful. And they are quite studious in their paperwork. Unfortunately, they had submitted firms, or at least one firm, that was not MBE certified in their MBE submittal package. And that is one of the very rare uncurable errors in the MBE program. So we were not able to, we've looked at those things in every direction, and there was no way to cure them, and it would be prejudicial to allow them to resubmit a new MBE. And that's not really an option on an invitation for bid. So there's no FAFO process or anything like that. It's a one shot.
How big?
Correct firm.
How large was the subcontractor, the unqualified MBE?
It was not a large percentage. I don't have the number handy. I apologize. But it was a low number, 2% or lower. But the rules are quite, unfortunately, very clear on, we set the established goal for the solicitation, and that minimum goal must be met when they submit their bids. And I can get that actual number for you if you'd like.
Yeah, I like it. And I just, I think it's sort of counterproductive to say this is a goal, and then they make a mistake, and they have somebody who's uncertified, but not to say they're not a minority a business enterprise, maybe not certified with us, and it's automatic, it's got to be thrown out. Those are
Correct.
rules we made, sounds like.
Those are rules.
I don't know if I buy that.
The governor's office has made. We do not have the authority to.
Oh, you're blaming it on the governor. I got it.
Well, I'm blaming it on the Code of Maryland regulations and guidance we received from the governor's office of small business and minority women-owned businesses, and from our own legal counsel and the procurement processes and best practices.
Yeah, Member Gaines, it is
you-
important that we have consistency in our procurements. That's what, is part of procurement law, is that we're fair to all bidders, and that, we don't know what aspects of bids can influence pricing and give somebody an advantage. And so we have to apply all of the procurement rules consistently to make sure that it is a fair procurement for all the bidders. And so while, we understand that a number on a page may look advantageous, it's not always clear exactly why that is. And it's not really for us to make those kind of judgment calls when we think it appears to be more advantageous to the state. That is not how fair procurements are done. And so we have to apply the laws. And in a case like this, it's not viewed on like a judgment scale. It's more like a pass fail. Did the bidder comply with the rules that allow for a fair and open procurement? And unfortunately, this case they didn't. So, while we always strive to make sure all the rules are really clear, and we have as open and transparent of a procurement as possible, so that these kinds of things don't happen. Unfortunately, it happens sometimes. So I think again, we have to make sure that we apply law consistently to have open and fair procurements for all bidders.
Well, so what about
Thank you, Will.
what about if this bidder, was this sub, was it $1 million sub? Or was it $100,000 sub? Or was it $10,000?
Yeah, again, we can't.
I submit that there's a difference.
And I would say it really can't be. There are certain. Let's take a different case. Let's say the low bidder was deemed unqualified. They'd never worked for Maryland. They've never done the type of job before. They didn't meet our minimum qualifications, but they were a lower price. And we were arguing, well, they did something that was close to what we asked for, but not exactly. Those kinds of things, we can't do that. We have to say, did you meet the requirements or not, so that we had a fair and open bidding field for all bidders, and not try to do this. Well, let's see if we can stretch and bend the rules for this case. We can't do that.
So I guess my question is also, second part of it is, I suppose they didn't even submit the sub. Could they have still qualified to get the bid without this sub?
They submitted what they thought was a completed MDE plan or participation schedule, and one of the firms on there was not MBE certified but was DBE certified. So they did not request a waiver, and there is, like Will had said, it's a pass-fail situation. We do not have the option, when sticking to the.
So they're certified with
Department of Affairs.
DBDB. Is that
So yeah, they're federally certified, but not certified in the state of Maryland's program. That question has come up before about, federally certified, but not MBE certified. But the state of Maryland MBE program makes it very clear in its instructions and guidance from GOSBA, like I said, that they must be MBE certified at time of bid with their submission to be a responsive and responsible bidder.
But what was the basis for their protest? Like, what did they state in their protest request?
So their protest, they were rejected for two reasons. They were rejected for the MBE issue, and they were rejected for we have a clause in there, and Jim Harkness is very versed in it. But there's a clause in there that limits the size of mobilization to 3% of your bid amount. That is a standard state highway clause, and their bid amount for mobilization far exceeded that. So when we rejected them, we wanted to highlight each of the issues that they made so that they would learn from that for their next submission. The protest was twofold. One, they submitted a protest letter protesting their rejection, and then they followed that up with a second protest protesting each of the other bidders, trying to have us declare them all non-responsive, which required, the procurement office to spend some time evaluating and verifying each of the bids and responding to the Chimbro protest in a manner that answered all of their questions, but categorically showed that, the protest was denied and the reasons why.
Yes, I guess maybe.
what was your second reason for protesting? There. Oh, it was a mobilization item, right?
Mobilization,
What is your max mobilization?
3%.
3% is the max you allow? And they didn't know that.
There's a special provision that applies mobilization, the limitation on it, that is kind of inserted into certain jobs and not others. It depends on the nature of the job. So, we see the reason that State Highway has developed the special provision is that mobilization sometimes can be a way of front loading the cash in a job very substantially. And so that limitation is there,
right,
to kind of control.
I understand that. Yeah.
Wanted to clarify a few things. The primary cause for the rejection was the MBE issue. The mobilization issue was secondary, but it was a large enough of an issue that we did include it in the rejection letter. And I just wanted to let you know the number you asked earlier. It was not substantial. It was smaller than I mentioned. It was 0.35% short of the goal. So they submitted a 19.65% of the 20% goal.
What's the percentage have to do with it? You're saying you didn't reject them because of the goal percentage. Was that they had an unapproved sub, right?
The firm that did. Correct,
so if they got 19.65 with a.
No, the firm.
So in other words, they had to. So that's why they're throwing out, because they didn't get to 20%.
Correct. The sub that they had submitted the sub that was not able to be counted accounted for 0.35% of their MBE's participation schedule.
So basically you're saying this isn't really a goal. This is a requirement. This is
a requirement.
Set aside 20% at least. And these contractors better, well, obviously they know it because they always make it. Right.
If this contractor had qualified, they would have met the minimum percentage. I think that's what I heard you say.
Right.
Correct.
Right,
I think there's
Given
Yeah,
they
just
didn't
let me-
qualify, you throw them out for 0.35%, and we pay an extra $1.3 million.
So it is a goal. However, there are requirements that the contractor demonstrate that they've made a good faith effort to achieve the goal, right? It would be unreasonable if we set a 20% goal and then turn around on every contract and just achieve 0%, right? We have to have
Not
some
the
level
case.
of expectation to make sure that, you know, we demonstrate to industry that we take the goal seriously and that it's important to demonstrate that they've made a good faith effort to achieve it.
No one's doubting that.
One of the aspects to show that good faith demonstration is that they provide an upfront package of subcontractors that they could work with and would work with through the project to achieve that goal, and that they have good faith commitments to those vendors to make that goal. So it's not, if you're right out of the gate not submitting a package of vendors that actually that work towards achieving the goal, you're not showing that you're going to meet the goal, right? So we have to, yes, it's a goal, but we do have to take good faith steps to achieve the goal.
So if they had
Thank you
submitted,
again, Will.
if they had left this contractor off their list and submitted good faith efforts to you all, like applied for a variance or something, that would have been considered. But the fact that they didn't, I guess they weren't aware that the guy didn't qualify. They didn't take those other steps, and so they're out of luck.
I'm here.
Yes, that's a good way to sum it up. And I wanted just to add on to Will's explanation, which was excellent. Thank you very much. So part of the procurement officer's job when selecting a vendor for award is determining responsibility and responsiveness. And responsibility shows in the good faith efforts that they would have provided in the MBE schedule, and the responsiveness is in the adhering to the requirements of the bid solicitation. So unfortunately, because of the issues in their mobilization price and the issues in their MBE plan, a procurement officer would not be able in good faith to state that this firm was responsive and responsible for this bid. It's not speaking to the firm as a whole. We have a good history with the firm, but for this particular solicitation, their bid did not meet those thresholds. I don't know if that made it worse or clearer or muddier.
Yeah, I think I just think maybe we take ourselves, you guys take yourselves too seriously of requiring all the I's dotted and the T's crossed, and I don't know. And you lose this is a zero-sum game. You're giving it to the Slosser. You're taking stuff away from Chambro, so it's not like nobody gets hurt. They get hurt.
Well,
I think they were going to use it.
It's important to remember that we do our compliance checks on every contract, even up front when somebody submits a bid package. But in this particular case, we did receive a bid protest so it's not just MDTA dotting every I and crossing every T. It's actually the vendor community saying, hey, look, this procurement wasn't done in a way to where we were given an opportunity to bid it in a fair and open way. And we have to review that and take it seriously. And that's exactly what happened here. And unfortunately, we found that protester was correct. So, you know, that I just want to be clear. We're not being arbitrary and dotting I's and crossing T's. We're following procurement law and making sure that we apply it correctly.
Well, I just want to clarify, the protest was denied, not accepted. Sounded like you twisted the word, so I wanted to clarify.
Yeah, we got that.
Okay.
Well, I guess on a good note, those three lower bids are all kind of right there together, so that kind of makes feel like the number is right, even though 4% above the engineer's estimate.
I don't want to carry on too long, but what about if the second bidder was $10 million higher?
Yeah, well,
Same answer, huh?
Yeah.
That is a conversation that the procurement officer and the project manager would have had, and they would have, weighed the options of what was in the best interest of the state of Maryland. So,
I mean, I think it was a.
I just want to clarify, we had those conversations even before moving on to the second bidder. It wasn't like an automatic shift to the next bidder. We have to weigh the options and the program budget and the agency's needs.
But to the earlier point, the price of any of the bidders is not a factor in the reason for the rejection here. It's essentially a pass-fail kind of criteria that they did not pass the requirements on their bid. And it doesn't matter what the other bidders bid for the non-responsive bid. Their bid was rejected because it wasn't responsive. That's it. There's no consideration of treating it as though the pricing somehow influenced that. That's not allowed in procurement law.
Could have thrown it out, I guess, and started over again.
That's right. We would have had to say,
At some point, you got to do
all of
what's in
this.
the best interest of the state. If the procurement law doesn't make sense or does not generate a result that's in the best interest of the state, tough shit, huh?
Well, I think what we could throw it.
Jim Ports has said many times that he doesn't look good in an orange jumpsuit. I am definitely not fit for an orange jumpsuit. We will be following the law.
Yeah, I think maybe what Member Gaines is saying, maybe we need to figure out a way to challenge the law in the future. It is
right.
It's costing the toll payers and taxpayers, for that matter, because it happens at the state.
Right. I mean, who wrote the law? Sure. Yeah.
Well, that is why, if you remember, the MBE program was much more strict in a lot of its requirements. And during
Reform.
when we changed the laws, procurement reform, thank you. I can't believe I forgot that. I say it every other day. During procurement reform, we changed the laws to actually allow many situations where we could cure errors in the MBE program. But in order to be considered a responsive bid, you have to at least meet the minimum requirements of submitting firms that are MBE certified, and that is not what happened in this case. And just a further comment on what's in the best interest of the state, I'd like to reiterate what Will Pines had said earlier. Executive Director Pines had said earlier, was that being consistent is in the best interest, especially for our agency, because what we do not want is a reputation of being fickle, and we do not want a reputation for flouting procurement laws that will, garner issues with the state. It will garner issues with the Office of State Procurement, and issues with the vendor community who do everything in their power to make sure that they're responsive and responsible when they bid. So upholding those minimum requirements for responsiveness and responsibility, I would argue, are always going to be in the best interest of the state. But I understand your point, and I do know conversations about the rigidity of the program have happened at various levels of state government, and that's why the laws, keep coming up every year to make adjustments to it. So we may see it change yet again in the next legislation. So we are definitely open to changes in the program that will lead to better results for procurement of these types of services.
That sounds like a future meeting topic for this group. I know we've done it before, but maybe we need to keep some bolts. Offer up some suggestions for change.
Yeah, I think we can work on that. Member Ganjemi, have Chair Ganjemi, we can have Tia from our civil rights team come in and kind of walk through what are the procurement requirements related to MBE. And, I just want to be clear too, that when we talk about what's in the best interest of the state, right, and why we have laws, why we have certain environmental laws, and why we have in our specification schedule requirements and things that cost money, frankly, right? The MBE program is something that MDTA supports and that the laws of Maryland support, because having support for minority businesses is viewed as a value that we care about. So when we talk about what's in the best interest of the state, that's not just about the price of every contract. That's a holistic view of doing what's right for the environment, what's right by industry, what's right by, our people and our customers we serve. There's more to it than just being able to say, well, the other guy's cheaper. Why did we do here? This isn't the best interest of the state. We're following the procurement law that guides us for what are the values of our state. And I think it's important to understand that when we're talking about any time this topic comes up. So, but we're happy. We'll have.
But I question it, whether it's really in the best interest of the state, because if you're going to give 13.4% of your contract, say their engine, I don't know what the women would be doing, but they're not. And you're taking it away from a man-owned business, 13.4%. You give it to a woman. Is that always in the best interest of the state? Is that always fair to the subcontractors who lost that work? They're taxpayers too, and sometimes these programs have just built on themselves, and they don't always. Sometimes we don't really evaluate whether the true need is there. So.
Yeah, I think we should definitely have a discussion on this, and I think the other thing to point out, and I talked about this before, some of the same minority contractors are underneath every one of these contracts, which means that we're not getting the competition we need now. I think that's a good topic of discussion. One question I want to ask before I forget, these prices started in a year ago. I forgot when you said the prices were due. We obviously have gone through a period of time protest here, so we've lost some time to get started on this. Are these prices good, or are they going to go up because we paid and obviously the cost of materials has not gone down yet? For that matter, the cost of fuel has not gone down.
So, yeah, just to clarify real quickly on the procurement side of things, when they submit their price, part of submitting a bid is stating that their price will be good for a minimum number of days, typically 90 or 120 days, depending on the size of the contract. When we get into a situation where the award process is extended, we will, prior to the expiration of any bid prices, reach out to the vendors, all vendors that are still in contention, to confirm that they hold their prices for an additional 90 days or whatever number of days we need to get to the award phase. So that process is done throughout the entire award phase. When that contract gets signed, the pricing that was bid was committed to will be the pricing that will be used on the contract. Now, during maintenance of that contract or management of that contract, there may be clauses in there that allow them to adjust their pricing on a few categories, or they may, negotiate some sort of change with the contract manager after it has started. But up until the contract is signed and approved, they are committing to their bid prices.
Yeah. Well, does anybody want to entertain a motion to approve this contract? I think Member Cox is trying to say something. You're on mute, Member Cox.
You're muted, Member Cox.
You're muted, Member Cox.
Member Cox, you're muted.
There you go.
I'll make a motion. Sorry.
Member Cox makes a motion to approve. Is there a second? Am I allowed to second? Get the discussion? I'm not sure if that works.
I'll make a second.
Member Enzer seconding. Do we want further discussion or explain a vote before we vote?
Very difficult, but, I think we got to go forward.
It's obviously a huge maintenance item, and I understand that putting it off will probably make a $68 million project become $98 million probably. Put it off. So I'll call to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I got Member Cox with an aye. Actually, do me a favor. Give me a thumbs up if you agree with that. Member Cox, you're an aye. Okay. Member Enzer, you're an aye. Gaines. I think that's gonna. Is there any nays?
I'll abstain. I'll abstain.
Abstain. All right. I will also vote in favor. It's a reluctant in favor, but I understand that we can't put our infrastructure in jeopardy. So you got your 3-0 to 1 vote. Thank you for the discussion. I think it was very necessary and
Very healthy.
Appreciate Mr. Davis and Mr. Michael and
I can make some more comments on the lead, but I won't.
All right, we'll move on to the next one, which is approval of KH 3031. That is a noise wall. Mr. Harkness will be talking to us about that.
Good morning, Mr. Chair
Good morning,
and members of the Capital Committee. My name is Jim Harkness. I'm the Chief Engineer for Maryland Transportation Authority. So this morning, I'll be presenting for your consideration KH 3021, which is the noise wall along I-95 southbound, south of Calvary Road. This project is part of the I-95 ETL extension. This is going to be performed along I-95 in Harford County. And this project includes construction of a noise barrier. Again, it's along southbound 95 near Calvary Road, and the length of the wall is approximately 0.7 miles, 0.7. The noise barrier is needed to obviously attenuate noise from the expanded I-95 system. Again, the scope of work not only includes the noise barrier, but the required excavation and site grading, drainage structures, erosion and sediment, stormwater management, some asphalt patching, and landscaping. We procured this as an IFB. We have some allowances in this contract, allowances for partnering and public relations, as well as a miscellaneous construction allowance. The engineer's estimate for this contract was $10,584,241. We advertised this project on August 1st of this year, and we opened bids on October 5th. We did have 8 bids received for this procurement, and we had a low bid submitted by the 6M company in the amount of $9,819,000, which is 7% below the engineer's estimate. There were no bid rejections or protests or bid rejections, and it is 100% funded with our toll revenues. This procurement did have an MBE goal of 20% with no sub-goals and a 1% VSBE goal. This parent low bidder 6M has submitted an MBE plan that is currently still under review, but looking to meet those goals. 6M has an extensive history working with us. They've completed a couple of contracts up on the Kennedy Highway. And they've done noise walls for both MDTA as well as the State Highway Administration in the past. The NTP on this contract, if it receives approval, would be February of next year. And then we would have a completion date of September of 2024. So with this, we are seeking contingent approval from the Capital Committee to present this contract at the full MTA board meeting. And with that, thank you for your consideration, and let me know if you have any questions.
Thanks, Jim. I'm gonna.
Chairman, I want to just commend Jim having a low bid. I mean, you know, that's amazing.
You mean a low bid that was actually below the, you got to make up for some of that,
Yeah.
the money on the other job.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah, and I would just, you know, just to let you guys know, I know we talk about, you know, sort of the status of low bid versus our engineers' estimates, and we've done formal presentations in the past, and just sort of just to summarize, I guess even in this year, up to this meeting, before this meeting, we were still 14% below engineers' estimates on the contracts you guys have seen this year, and last year, I forget the percentage, but we were a pretty good amount under estimate last year as well. So we've been trying to adjust our estimates based on our conditions, and I think you've seen presentations from me in the past about how we put together our estimates. So, you know, typically we would try to use historical prices, but obviously, you know, the market is, you know, here and now, and our historical prices aren't as accurate. So we try to do our best to adjust, and obviously sometimes we're able to account for it, sometimes we're not. So, but I just did want to let you guys know that up until before this meeting, we were still a decent percentage under our estimates for the year.
Jim, my question is, we're talking today, you're going to present this at the board meeting in later this month, but a notice to proceed not till February. Why so long?
We just have, with the holidays, we know we were looking at, you know, the idea of is the contractor really going to be ready to go? And we were just looking at the scheduling of when we could give him a notice to proceed that would make him, you know, be ready to hit the ground running in spring. So we'll be working on early submittals and things like that, so that we can do that, but we wanted to put them on the clock in February.
Okay, so we can still get things underway. Good.
That's correct.
Jim, is this ahead of the highway construction, this area?
In this area, you're right. You're right. So we have some highway construction coming along adjacent to this area, but this is southbound, right? So most of our stuff obviously is northbound because it's the northbound extension. But we are going to be getting this out and trying to get the majority of the impact out of the way by the time, you know, we're really impacting this section in the northbound side.
So are there people complaining about the noise?
At this area, not yet.
Not yet.
But
did they move there? Did they move in there when the highway was there?
Correct. That's
Yes.
why.
I know the answer.
That's
to that
why
one.
they're getting. That's why the study showed the need for the noise wall in this area, as well as the other noise walls that we've done in this for this program. So we do have, we're working on all of our projects. Really, we're trying to really work well with the community to set the expectation that, hey, we're coming through with this project. Obviously you'll be hearing construction equipment, but you'll also, we'll be having to clear some trees. Hey, we'll be putting back, new landscaping. So the construction team, the outreach team is really trying to work with neighbors up and down this corridor as best we can. So this will be another one where obviously we're going to kind of be in someone's backyard. So we'll be out before we start anything, kind of canvassing the neighborhood door to door and trying to let these folks know what to expect.
Member Gaines, I can just respond that I've been hearing some people in Harford County that they're very pleased. At least they're not going to be happy about the noise and the construction, but they've been proactive. I can say that.
Thank you.
I mean, as far as the residents, it needs to be somebody moves in next to a farm and complains that the cows stink. You knew that when you moved in. But yeah, I just have a hard on for. I think we should build highways and bridges, not noise barriers. That was Paris Glendenning's highway program. Noise barriers all around the Beltway. That's all he ever did. And yeah, I guess it's a new world.
New world.
Yeah.
All right, well, is there a motion to approve KH 3031, the I-95?
I'll make a motion.
I'll make the motion.
All right, Member Enzer makes the motion. Member Cox, I'm assuming you're the second. Looks like since you made it at the same time. Is that correct, Member Cox? Any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. That was all of us. So we will move on to Jeannie, who's going to give us the final FY 2023 to 2028 Consolidated Transportation Program. Good morning, Jeannie.
Good morning. I'm Jeannie
Morning,
Mary
Jeannie.
at the Capital. Good morning. I am the Capital Program Manager, and I'm here to seek your recommendation for approval of the proposed fiscal year 23 to 28 final CTP. The final CTP will also be presented to the Finance Committee for recommendation for approval on November 10th and will be presented to the full board for final approval on November 17th. The 6-year 23 to 28 budget in the proposed CTP is $2.7 billion. The proposed CTP reflects a net increase in the 6-year fiscal year 23 to 28 budget of $52.6 million. And let's turn to attachment 1 and look at a breakdown of those changes. CTP comparison tables, final versus draft, fiscal year 23 to 28 CTP. And so I'm going to be addressing the highlighted numbers that are in the column that says total 2023 to 2028. On line 1, we see that the Nice Middleton Bridge increased during that time period, $15.8 million. Line 2, the I-95 ETL Northern Extension, there is an increase of $9.2 million. And both of these were rollovers. The cost of the total estimated cost of the projects did not change. And then line 3 is the remainder of the CTP except the Nice Middleton Bridge, the Northern Extension, and the reserve. So this is all the other projects. There is an increase of $107.9 million. Line 4 is the allocated and unallocated reserves. There was an $80.3 million decrease. And then 5 is just a combination of 3 and 4. And then in line 6, we see that the total increase was $52.6 million. And the fiscal year 22 expenditures were $496.2 million versus the $548.6 million in the draft CTP. And that's in the 2022 column at the bottom of the table there. And that fiscal year 22 underspending was $52.4 million and has been rolled over into the final CTP. Now, if we go to attachment number 2, we can see the details of the changes project by project. On the first page, we see that there are 4 new projects added, 1 enhancement and 3 system preservation, for an increase of $6.3 million. There were 2 projects modified to reflect bids received for a net increase of $15.9 million. There were 2 projects modified to add the construction phase when the design had reached 60% and we could give a better estimate on a fully developed scope. And that was a net increase of $45.7 million. There was 1 project completed and 1 project deleted for a net decrease of $15 million. And then starting on this page and continuing to page 4 are 112 active projects modified due to cost changes and cash flow adjustments. So we see on page 4 that the net increase of those 112 changes was $80.1 million. Then on page 5, the first section, we have a breakdown of the net $80.3 million decrease in the reserves. And the final section is showing the total of the project changes that you saw on pages 1 through 4, an increase of $132.9 million, and the reserves decrease of $80.3 million brings us back to the net 52.6 increase from the draft to the final. And if we go to attachment number 3, where are the projects? This pie chart shows the expenditures, expected expenditures by facility. We see that the Kennedy Highway at 40% is the largest, and that's because it holds the I-95 ETL Northern Extension projects. If we go to attachment number 4, this pie chart, what are the categories of projects, shows us what kind of work is being done with the budget. And we see that at 36%, the safety and capacity improvements are the largest because most of the I-95 ETL Northern Extension projects are classified as safety and capacity improvements. And I am asking for your recommendation for approval of the proposed final CTP, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Anybody have any questions? Member Gaines, you're muted.
All right, sorry. The last, your last, not chart, but your last table, and budget, net budget changes of 52 million. To me, it's really a net change of 132.9 million, right? To say you lowered the reserves is not, I guess that's the way they do the accounting here, but I just don't, it's not intuitive. The projects went up 133 million. We took 80 million from the reserves to fund it, and then another 50 million in changes in addition. Am I wrong?
We have to remember that what we're looking at is a 6-year period, and if we were looking at the overall total cost of the projects, it would be a very different report. And
right.
Actually, I would say that it's not really $52.6 million increase because $52.4 million of that is just rolled over from 2022.
Oh, there. Right.
So I think we're in pretty.
Yeah, but taking money from the reserves does not change the amount of increase or decrease. That's just an accounting gimmick, or not, I won't say gimmick, it's accounting.
Well, we always do count the reserves are counted as part of the total. So we definitely want to include how they change. And a lot of times, even though we'll take money out and put it into the projects, we might not have a significant decrease in the reserves because at the time of preparing the draft and the final, we also adjust the reserves for what we see as what's coming up in the next 6 years.
Right. Well, at some point, that reserve is going to be refunded, right? The 80 we took out was going to be put back in, I guess, or maybe more.
The reserves are definitely there to eventually go into the projects.
But we don't have like the reserves needs to be at a certain number. It's not like a fund that we're maintaining just to it. If you look at line number 2 in the table, the I-95 ETL northbound extension, you'll note that that says including reserves. And what that means is that we know that we have real projects that are coming that are a little bit further in the out years of the CTP. So some of the cost estimating is not refined enough to actually program it and show it as a committed level project. But we do have planning level estimates that are put in the reserve. So the CTP, including the allocated reserves, is for a collection of projects. It's not like the reserves is just a bucket of cash sitting there waiting for us to move with how we want. It's allocated to specific projects.
Yeah. Yeah, you're looking forward. I guess it would be worse if it was you're looking back on projects and you say you didn't increase anything because you had reserves in the ongoing project and that was like a kitty to fund change orders or fund overruns. That's not what we're doing here. I realize that. Yeah.
No, that's the only
Very good.
fund to cover unexpected things is unallocated reserves, which we've actually reduced a lot over the last several years. So.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
Thank you, Jeannie.
Yeah. Thanks,
welcome.
Jeannie.
Is there a motion for approval of FY 2023 to 2028 final consolidated transportation program?
So moved.
So moved by member Gaines,
Second.
second by member Cox. Any further discussion? I suspect we're all discussed out. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, that was all of us. So thank you very much. That everything we had on our agenda. So now I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So
Second.
moved by member
Second.
Gaines, second by member Enzer. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
You got all this. Okay, all right, awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. Everybody be safe and thanks for a good meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks, members. Have a great day.
Have a good-
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.